Scripture scholars are kind of all across the board on trying to look at the original passion narrative in all four of the Gospels. So some people think that it already existed in a fixed form before any of the, Mark being the first, before any of the evangelists wrote anything down. And that's probably true. If that's not true, it is true that it's the first, I'll say, pericope that existed in a complete narrative form just by itself before anything else was written around it. So there's a liturgical piece that's playing in here. There's a historical piece that predated any of the four evangelists writing it. And then, of course, there's the specific fashioning of it by Mark for his audience. So he really had, there were two separate accounts that most scripture scholars think he joined. So the first of two already intact crucifixion accounts would sound like this. They led him out to crucify him. They brought him to the place of Golgotha, which is translated place of the skull. Then they crucified him and divided his garments by casting lots for them to see what each should take. With him, they crucified two revolutionaries, one on his right and one on his left. And that's all. That is the first one of two original crucifixion accounts. Now, the point of that is it looks to the crucifixion as a horrific event, questioning why you could ever call a man Messiah who was subjected to that. And Mark's argument, using this very short, what I highlighted in yellow, piece of what was an original crucifixion account, calls on especially Isaiah the prophet and the Psalms, which specifically mentioned what I'm showing you here with my cursor. Both Isaiah and the Psalms talked about dividing his garments by casting lots for them to see what each should take, and crucifying him with two other people. So in other words, the point of this very short crucifixion account is that if you're a Jew and you pay attention to your scriptures, specifically in the Psalms and in Isaiah, you will know how you can call a man subjected to a brutal and violent crucifixion the Messiah, because the Hebrew scriptures prepared us to see that when it happened. So that's one. The other intact crucifixion account, which has a different point, it was 9 o'clock in the morning when they crucified him. The inscription of the charge against him read, "The King of the Jews." Those passing by reviled him. Those who were crucified with him also kept abusing him. At noon, darkness came over the whole land until 3 in the afternoon. And at 3 o'clock, Jesus cried out in a loud voice. Jesus gave a loud cry and breathed his last. The veil of the sanctuary was torn in two from top to bottom. Now that's the second separate crucifixion account. Again, very short, but the point there is not drawing upon Hebrew scriptures to prove that Jesus is the Christos. Instead, it's set up like a battle between the power of light and the power of darkness. So it's more apocalyptic, it's more mythic than it is a story that draws upon the rich history of the Hebrew scriptures. So there's two things going on in two separate, very short crucifixion accounts. One is saying to the Jews, look, we were told this would happen. And another one is saying to everyone that Jesus brings the light, and light will conquer the darkness. What Mark does is he combines both of those, and that is what gives his particular account its unique flavor. Another thing I want you to notice down here, I think this is so beautiful. And if you've heard of it before, hear it again with new ears. If you haven't heard it before, be sure you listen for this. A man called Barabbas was then in prison. Now, Matthew actually calls this man Jesus Barabbas. Jesus was a very common name, and scripture scholars actually think that that could be the true original name of the person who was released from prison. But this is what I want to talk to you about. The prefix BAR means son of, right? So Jesus addressed Simon once as Simon Bar Jonah, Simon, son of Jonah. Look what this really is saying. Barabbas, son of the Father. Abba, son of the Father. Isn't it ironic that Jesus, who is the actual son of the divine Father, is the one who's sent to die, while this man called Barabbas is set free? Okay, now what I would like to do is talk about some takeaways and where we can go, where we can take this. So first of all, certainly in life today, there's a hope and even an expectation among some people for happiness and positivity and contentment. And I think a challenge for us is to help people broaden what constitutes full human development by including the stuff of the Paschal mystery, the hard stuff, the difficult stuff, the suffering, the pain, the loss, the diminishment. That's part of human development too. And if we only focus on the expectation, if we only expect being happy and content and having everything we need, I think what's going to happen is we will make this story of the Passion seem like it doesn't make sense, it's unintelligible, it's unbelievable, and we're just going to brush it aside. But in fact, there is enormous power in this. So I think what we have to remind ourselves of first, over and over again, God forces us into places and crises of profound inadequacy. Mm-hmm. And that's how God can become God in our lives, if we embrace it in faith. So the first thing I want to say is somehow we have to broaden what we think belongs to life and does, because of original sin, belong to life. It's not just peace and contentment and success and glory and happiness and positivity. It includes pain, loss, suffering, diminishment, death. It includes that too. Not in a second place either. It's part of all of human development. That's the first takeaway from this. Second point, you wonder, how can any of what I just said possibly glorify God? Over and over again, one author said, there's a stubborn cruciformity to the Gospels, to the whole Christian message. We keep going back and back and back, over and over again. There's a cruciformity to that. How can that glorify God? Well, I think it's important to recognize that God is endlessly present. And let me break this open for you a little bit. Historically, traditionally, theologically, sin is defined as the absence of God. You got to hear that in order to take this train with me here. So if sin is defined as the absence of God, then what Jesus made possible through his obedience, through this spectacular act of the heart in which he surrendered to God, what he made possible was the everlasting, unsurpassable presence of God. That is key. Because of Jesus' gift of surrender to his Father in the crucifixion, which was rewarded by resurrection and ascension, because of that, the absence of God would never win out and would not become the norm. Presence would become the norm. Mm-hmm. Now that's really important that you at least understand what I'm saying, It's an insistent presence that is the victory and the gift of the crucifixion resurrection. An insistent, new, unsurpassable presence of God in life that is not qualified by anything that we would call bad. Pain, sickness, suffering, death, loss, diminishment, none of that. None of that is going to ever take away the victory of presence, an unsurpassable presence. That is so key. That is the gift of Jesus in the crucifixion resurrection event. So I want you to understand that. Weakness is the context. Weakness is the context. Weakness is the context for the epiphany, the showing, the manifestation of God. Very important. It is crucial, though, to recognize in all this that God is endlessly present to us personally, specifically, particularly, individually. In fact, that sense of personal presence of the divine to me, all of us individually, actually is pivotal for a life of prayer. So then we move to, as we enter Holy Week Sunday, how do we become conformed to the crucified Christ? How do we enter Christ's journey? How do we proclaim the death of the Lord until he comes? And then finally, that we have to understand that the Paschal mystery defines us, not just in hope and glory, but in pain and loss. It's both and, it's not either or. And the key to that, the gift of Jesus to us in his crucifixion, is the presence of God in everything. So we start recognizing how we enter into Christ's passion, how we are conformed to his crucifixion, how we proclaim the death of the Lord until he comes, in particular, specific, practical ways.